It's the time of the year again where all of the MMO content creators make one of those list videos talking about the upcoming MMORPGs that might be releasing in 2023, even though experience has taught us that half of these games will be perpetually pushed back another year, only to be featured on next year's list. Honestly, some of the games featured in this video won't ever come out, and the ones that do probably won't live up to expectations. This list will be organised in the order of the MMOs that I'm the most optimistic about to the ones that I'm less optimistic about, but first, sponsor. AFK Arena is the #1 idle RPG hero collector available for free on both Android and iOS. This is a game I've been playing myself for over 2 years now, and it's a chill game to whip out when you're on the train watching TV or enjoying a coffee. In this game you'll be gathering AFK resources that build up daily, collecting epic heroes and combining them in a team that works well together, as well as completing missions, puzzles, PvP, events and looting generous rewards. Recently, AFK Arena has released a new pet system to the game that adds further depth to the strategic aspect of building team comps. Each pet comes with its own unique art style, ability and buffs that it provides to your team. They can be leveled up to become stronger, and they're relatively easy to obtain now with free pet vouchers that you get from joining an active union. Figuring out which pet best suits each of your multiple team comps is the key to min-maxing your power potential. Visually, I also love the art style on them too. Super cute with tons of personality. My favourite so far is the winged lion. It reminds me of a cross between Pikachu and a flying squirrel. Click the link in the description below to download AFK Arena now and use gift codes RYNFZJK85Y as well as DON2023 as displayed on screen for some incredible rewards to help you on your pet collecting AFK adventure. Download now. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know that Ashes of Creation is the MMORPG that I'm personally the most excited for. It's the most ambitious, the business model they're going for doesn't compromise the integrity of the game, it's a nice mix of sandbox and theme park, as well as a mix between both PvP and PvE content. This game has so many features that talking about them all would take too much time, so for more info check out the big Ashes of Creation overview video on my channel that I made a few months back. So when will Ashes of Creation release? Well, personally, I think we can expect Alpha 2 sometime in the first half of 2023, with beta and full release late 2024. There's no official dates given yet, but by the time 2024 rolls around, the game would have been in full development for 7 years, which is similar to the amount of time it took to develop MMOs such as Elder Scrolls Online and Archeage in the past. The RIOT MMO. I did a poll on my YouTube channel a few weeks back, and next to Ashes of Creation, the RIOT MMO was the second most highly anticipated MMORPG. Riot Games have a ton of money, resources and talent. All the games they've released in recent years have turned out to be highly polished and successful, and have kind of turned into a new age version of what Blizzard Entertainment used to be, where they would take a game or genre and put their own spin on it whilst making it highly accessible. We don't have a lot of info about the RIOT MMO, and due to the fact we haven't seen any gameplay or even screenshots of the game, I can't see it releasing anytime soon. In my opinion, this is a 2025 and beyond MMO release. Finally, a game that's actually going to release in 2023, Throne and Liberty. This game's been in development for an eternity. Initially it was supposed to be Lineage 3 and was first shown off at G-Star in 2011, then they moved the game to Unreal Engine 4 under the name Project TL, then after that they renamed it to Throne and Liberty and changed from an isometric MMO to a third-person open-world action combat MMO. This game's going to be a big competitor to Black Desert Online as it features castle sieges, open world PvP guild vs guild battles, as well as massive world boss fights for hundreds of players in the open world. Personally, I'm very excited for this game, even though there's a high likelihood of it being pay to win. The game's currently targeting a release window of Q2 2023. Diablo 4. Some people might not consider this an MMORPG, but you're able to see other players running around a massive shared open world and have the opportunity to group up with them, as well as touch a bit of that MMO feeling when taking down world bosses. Diablo 4 will also have PvP and other features that will also likely appeal to MMO fans. Diablo 4 will be releasing on June 6th, 2023, and I'll definitely be covering it on this channel when it does. Path of Exile 2. Once again, not an MMORPG, but the game will feature co-op parties for up to 6 players. PoE 2 seems like it's got a lot less shared world MMO light features when compared to Diablo 4, but will likely make up for it in depth, build variety, replayability and content updates. Most MMORPG players that I know are also excited for Path of Exile 2, hence why I decided to include it in this list, and so far the game's looking like it will be releasing in either Q1 or Q2 2024. Blue Protocol is an upcoming anime MMORPG from Japan that's almost certainly going to be releasing in 2023, most likely early spring. This game already has a Steam page available and has been in development for quite some time. I actually played the closed beta of Blue Protocol over 2.5 years ago at this point, before the game just went full radio silence for 2 years. From what I remember, it was a decently fun story-driven PvE MMO, although at the time nothing really blew me away about it. Regardless, most Japanese-made MMOs tend to do fairly well in the West, and I'd expect Blue Protocol to be relatively popular, as long as it's got plenty of content as well as a fair business model. Crimson Desert. This is not an MMORPG, it's a story-driven single-player RPG with multiplayer elements. As to the extent of those multiplayer elements, we're not sure yet as of the making of this video. Regardless though, this is a game being developed by the same developers as Black Desert Online, which means it will likely have an amazing action combat system that will likely appeal to most MMORPG fans. As for release date, it's currently looking like Q3 or Q4 2023. Archeage 2. This Unreal Engine 5 MMORPG will be available on both PC and consoles and feature a massive open world with an action combat system, a solid mix of both PvP and PvE content, as well as the ability to build giant ships and sail the open seas, which was the most famous feature from Archeage 1. The recent teaser trailer we got for Archeage 2 got me extremely excited. The game looks absolutely beautiful, and I hope Exile Games have learned from their past mistakes with Archeage 1. So far this game is slated for a 2024 release, however I personally wouldn't be surprised to see it pushed back into 2025. It's also a Korean MMO with a big emphasis on PvP, so I'd also expect it to have pay-to-win elements. Night Crows. This game was unveiled in November 2022 with one of the most badass trailers I've ever seen for an MMO. What's even more surprising is that the game is slated for an April 2023 release. The game's key feature is that it can supposedly support 1,000 player PvP battles, which is something I'm kinda skeptical about. Visually, the game looks very nice, utilising Unreal Engine 5's rendering tech, however my biggest skepticism comes from the fact that Night Crows will be cross-platform on PC and mobile, and apparently use blockchain technology. No idea how this game's gonna turn out, but I'll be trying it regardless. Wayfinder is yet another recently announced game making this list, and it actually looks pretty decent. I'm not too sure to what extent this game is massively multiplayer, but MMORPG is a tag that the game is using to describe itself on the game's Steam page, which is already up and available for wishlists. Based purely on the trailer, Wayfinder to me looks like a third-person multiplayer stage-based looter, but I might be wrong. Not much details are known other than the game will launch in late 2023 and have a fair free-to-play business model, whatever that means these days. Palia is probably the most casual MMORPG on this list, and that certainly isn't a bad thing, as that's the exact niche this game is targeting. Imagine Stardew Valley but 3D, third person with multiplayer, basically the perfect game to play with your partner. Palia describes itself as a community sim game set in a vibrant world with a cozy art style and overall vibe. In this game you can forage, hunt, mine, catch insects, go fishing, cook, furnish your house and do some gardening. As for release date, I'd expect this sometime in late 2023, as the game's already had multiple playtests at this point. Corepunk. This is quite a unique upcoming MMORPG that I've personally been excited for quite a long time. Imagine MOBA style top-down gameplay but in an MMORPG with fog of war. It's certainly a unique concept that hasn't been done before. Corepunk looks like it has a solid mix of both PvP and challenging PvE content, crafting, an open world, vibrant art style, character customization, and multiple classes. In terms of development, the game looks pretty far along based on the gameplay shown, and was supposed to have a beta test at the end of 2021 which was delayed. Unfortunately, the devs faced further delays due to having a studio based in Ukraine at the start of the war. Thankfully, the most recent update states that the team are fully back on track, so I'd expect us to get our hands on Corepunk sometime in 2023. Bitcraft is a game that's taking a different approach to the sandbox MMORPG genre. As you can see from the trailer, it has cozy, stylized, cel-shaded graphics and quite a relaxing vibe. This game features procedurally generated landscapes, the ability for players to come together and construct their own towns, crafting and gathering systems, farming, hunting and fishing, and it seems to be a cross between survival game and MMORPG with a strong social focus. No announced release date yet, but the game's recently began the pre-alpha testing process, so perhaps this is a 2024 MMO. Hytale is a voxel-style MMORPG that was initially announced 4 years ago. This game's more of a sandbox-style MMO and will feature building, minigame creation, quests, dungeons, bosses, character customization, different classes, and a ton of in-game tools to help content creators make their own content for the game. Hytale has recently redeveloped its engine to support multiple platforms, and the latest info I can find is that the team are eyeing a 2023 release. Profane describes itself as a true player-driven sandbox MMO that takes place in a traditional fantasy setting. You'll be able to explore a dynamic world that reacts to your actions, partake in open-world PvP, build houses, and enjoy skill-based action combat. Visually, I like the vibrant stylized graphics of this game as well as the PvP territory control focus. Currently there's no information on a release date for this game, so I'd have to speculate 2025 and beyond. The Day Before is probably the most hyped third-person looter shooter MMO coming in the near future. This game was initially revealed in January 2021 with a trailer that many people had doubts about, given the fact it's a massive open-world zombie survival shooter similar to The Division, but it's made by a relatively small dev team that hasn't released a project anywhere near this scale before. The Day Before is currently set to release on March 1st, 2023, and can already be added to your Steam wishlist. Honestly though, this seems like the kind of game you should wait for the reviews for before buying. Project LLL is the latest looter shooter MMO from NCSoft, and in November 2022 was unveiled with a relatively well-received 9-minute gameplay trailer which showed some impressive visuals, although rather clunky looking gameplay and animations. NCSoft has quite a lot of money and have put out some decent games over the years, so I'm excited to see how this one turns out. As for a potential release, this one's looking like a 2024 and beyond MMO. Nightingale isn't really an MMORPG, but it's a first-person multiplayer open-world survival game that I think will likely appeal to MMO players given its fantasy theme. Nightingale will release in the first half of 2023 and features procedurally generated realms to explore, a mix of melee weapons and guns, colossal monsters, gathering, crafting, building, and the ability to recruit NPCs to work on your homestead. Looks like an interesting game and it's already available to wishlist on Steam. Past Fate is a Viking-themed open-world indie MMORPG that should be coming to Steam Early Access in 2023. Visually, the game has decent graphics and seems to be going with a Souls-style action combat system. Past Fate will feature 5 playable classes: Warrior, Necromancer, Mage, Pirate and Priest, a crafting and gathering system, quests, and various monsters such as zombies, demons, and giants. I think this game looks quite cool, and I'm looking forward to covering it on the channel when it releases on Steam Early Access. War of Dragnorox is another indie MMORPG coming to Steam Early Access in 2023, and has recently announced that it's transitioning to Unreal Engine 5. This game is a sandbox MMO with a traditional fantasy setting of orcs, dragons and goblins, and there'll be a big emphasis on player exploration with no hand-holding, no world map, no level scaling, and lots of dungeons and raids to explore. Soulframe, basically Warframe the MMORPG, but with a slower, more deliberate combat system, perhaps similar to Dark Souls. This game is very early in development, so not a lot of details are known about it yet. Regardless, Warframe was a quality game with a fair business model and a solid developer team, so I'd expect good things from Soulframe. As for a release date, it will be 2025 and beyond, most likely. DUNE Awakening is a recently revealed open-world survival MMO based in the DUNE universe. In this game you'll explore the vast lawless deserts of Arrakis, fighting bandits, sandworms, and other alien creatures with a third-person combat system where you'll be able to utilise various infantry, ground and flying vehicles. Obviously, as a survival MMO, gathering, crafting and base building will also be a big factor. There's not too many details out about this game right now, but it's looking like a game that will be playable in early access either late 2023 or early 2024. Horizon Online is another upcoming MMORPG that was recently confirmed to be in the works from Guerrilla Games. We don't know anything about this game other than it featuring a completely new cast of characters from the other Horizon games, as well as going for a unique stylized aesthetic. This one seems extremely early in development, so I wouldn't expect any release until 2025 and beyond. Into the Echo is an Unreal Engine 5 MMORPG that was teased in September 2021 with a trailer that quite frankly shows next to nothing. We do know that the game will feature time travel through different civilizations though, which is kind of interesting. This is yet another MMO that I wouldn't expect to release anytime before 2025. Madworld is a Korean isometric MMO set in a world with gruesome cartoon-style visuals. This game will be free to play, feature a mix of both PvP and PvE content, as well as some of the most hideous bosses you'll ever see. I expect Madworld will release in 2023, as the game's recently been in beta testing and a Steam wishlist page is already available. As with all free-to-play Korean MMOs though, do expect this one to come for your wallet. Legends of Ymir. Similar to Nightcrows, this is a recently announced MMORPG from WeMade that will also be cross-platform on mobile and PC, as well as using Unreal Engine 5 and blockchain technology. Once again, lovely trailer, but we'll have to wait for the gameplay to see if there's any promise with this one. I'm super skeptical myself, especially with how Myr 4 turned out. Legends of Ymir is currently looking like a 2024 release as of the making of this video. Chrono Odyssey, another Unreal Engine Korean MMORPG that showed off a cool trailer 2 years ago that was mostly CGI. This game will be cross-platform on PC, PS5 and mobile devices, and not a whole lot is known about the game. Apparently Chrono Odyssey is confirmed for 2023, but given the fact that we haven't seen any actual gameplay yet, I kinda doubt it. Ares Rise of Guardians is an upcoming sci-fi MMORPG from Cacao Games that gives me budget Warframe vibes. This game will be available on both PC and mobile, so it probably won't be very good, but it has a cool theme regardless. This one should come out sometime in 2023. Odin Valhalla Rising, another upcoming PC/mobile MMORPG from Cacao Games that visually looks quite good. Unfortunately, the gameplay looks like it's a lot of auto-pathing and auto-combat, probably heavily pay to win too, but I like the Norse theme of the game. Expect a global release for this in 2023, although I don't think it's going to be a game that will be received too well by critics. Ember Sword is a blockchain MMORPG that's been in development for years. It reminds me of Albion Online but with more basic graphics. Ember Sword will be a browser MMO with PvP, land ownership, top-down gameplay and action combat. I'm actually curious to try this game simply because this is one of the few blockchain MMOs that have been in development for years before crypto gaming became a hype bandwagon, with its first announcement trailer all the way back in 2018. As for release date, it's looking like 2023. Perhaps some of you remember a game a few years back called Project BBQ. This was supposed to be a third-person multiplayer action RPG version of Dungeon Fighter Online. Well, Project BBQ was scrapped and transitioned to Project AK. Now this is still a game that's going to be set in the Dungeon Fighter universe, however now it's going to be more of a Souls-like in terms of gameplay, and it's only going to be releasing on consoles initially. Star Citizen is the biggest meme when it comes to upcoming MMORPGs, as many people say this game will never release. It's by far received the most crowdfunding money out of any game ever at over $500 million. In all fairness to Star Citizen, some parts of the game are playable and look pretty cool. The truth is though, nobody knows when or if this game will ever release. Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen. This game has been on every single upcoming MMORPG list video for the past 8 years, and it's currently still in pre-alpha. And by pre-alpha, I mean pre-alpha, not some marketing alpha like we've gotten used to over the years. Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen is basically trying to be the spiritual successor to EverQuest, and based on the most recent footage shown of it, I can't be bothered to talk about the game any further because it still looks like it's a solid 5 years away from completion. Camelot Unchained has been in development for 10 years at this point, and we haven't had an updated trailer for the game in 9 years. The devs haven't shown any progress update on YouTube for 2 years, but apparently it's still in development and they've just secured an additional $15 million of funding somehow. Personally, I don't think Camelot Unchained will ever release. So out of all the upcoming MMORPGs mentioned in this video, which ones are you the most excited for? Honestly, the last time I made a video like this, 50% of the games mentioned either ended up being dead on arrival, straight up cancelled, or perpetually delayed, but hopefully a few of these MMOs will turn out good. For me, my hype lies with Ashes of Creation, the RIOT MMO, Archeage 2, Throne and Liberty, and Soulframe. If any others turn out to be good, then it'd be a pleasant surprise. This video took quite a lot of effort with research and writing to make, so if you found it useful, help us out with a like button for the algorithm gods, social media on screen, and I'll see you in the next one.